Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this spot. I would be working with our brother Brother Ken Amwa and our sister Claudia. So after the first few minutes, after establishing the foundations in terms of responding to the questions that Pastor Carter raised, I would invite them to join me here, and then we'll take your questions. We want to use the opportunity to welcome those who have joined us by our social media platforms. We hope that you also take the opportunity to ask as many questions as you will. We are trusting the Lord for his wisdom to speak. Shall we pray? Father, we thank you so much for the grace and the opportunity to be here. We are here seeking answers to questions that we all have. We want to know whether you agree with the chase after entrepreneurship, and if it stands well with you, that you show us the way to go, that we may go. In Jesus' name, amen. Great. So the topic is entrepreneurship, the Christian way. And I'll be spending the first 25 minutes to just attempt to answer the questions. Basically speaking to the following objectives curled out of the questions that Pastor Carter read out. We'll be seeking to define the term entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship, and also to define the term entrepreneur, and also to establish the relevance of entrepreneurship in our world today. And the third leg will be to define the entrepreneurship mindset, that there is a mindset that an individual needs to have if entrepreneurship is to be true. And then, because of time, I would end it on giving examples of entrepreneurship in the Bible. So we read the Bible for many reasons, to know our God. But the fact of the matter is, starting from the ending, God is the greatest entrepreneur. Let me preempt that, and then we begin with our conversation. So what is entrepreneurship? In the world today, a lot of people talk about it. In fact, it's a whole course that people read at the universities. You go to school and your course of study is entrepreneurship. I don't know, but it's a choice people make. And we want to just delve into that. So in very simple terms, because of time, I will be moving a bit fast, just so as to finish within the 25 minutes and to have my colleagues join me. I have a book on my shelf written by Elikam Nutifafa Kwenyehia with the title Kwenyehia on Entrepreneurship. So when I got the topic 3 days ago, I went looking for how Kwenyehia defines entrepreneurship. And he puts it in this simple way: the process that starts with finding an idea that removes a customer's pain. The process that starts with finding an idea that removes a customer's pain. So in simple terms, what Kwenyehia is saying, that entrepreneurship is coming up with ideas that solve problems. That's another way of putting it. I mean, until your idea is solving somebody's problem, you won't get anybody putting money on your solution. Until your idea is a solution, nobody will buy into it. Okay, so that's how Kwenyehia. Another way it's put is that entrepreneurship is the journey or the process of starting, developing, and growing a business. That captures 3 key essence: starting, developing, and growing a business. Now, the next definition, where we'll spend some time, is actually a definition that I've come to love, and is propagated by a Harvard professor by the name Howard Stevenson. It says that entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond the tangible resources that you currently control. So you pursue opportunity beyond the tangible, what you currently have. So what he is saying is that when you want to step into entrepreneurship, you don't look at your current state. Because if you have more than enough, then your dream is not big enough. You must have a dream that extends beyond your personal capacity. That is what becomes your motivation. If it's within reach, you don't need to start a business to get it. That's simply put how he looks at it. And at the heart of that is the demand for the entrepreneurship process to be fueled by vision. Because if you can't see beyond your present state, and what you see is bigger than what you have currently, you haven't begun the process. So I'll break down this. We'll stay a little longer with this definition in terms of attempting to look at the concept of entrepreneurship. So the first word we pick from this definition is pursuit. If entrepreneurship were a sport, so all along, you see, we talk about entrepreneurship, it's the starting. It doesn't talk about the end. And some of the definitions we've looked at talk about it being a process. So before you begin the journey of entrepreneurship, please don't think about the money you get at the end of the journey. Because between where you stand and where you will get to that end, the gulf that exists is one you can't always have a full comprehension of. So the pursuit he's talking about, Stevenson is talking about, is basically saying that if entrepreneurship was a sport, qualification will be as simple as entering the race. So the process of starting the journey of running a business or venturing into a business, and all that occurs in that journey is put together as entrepreneurship. So what makes you an entrepreneur or entrepreneur is the pursuit, not the achievement. It's key for us. So entrepreneurial activity or activities or an entrepreneurial activity is not tied to a particular outcome or success. It is the struggle, the learning, the unexpected obstacles, and the repetitive cyclical refinement toward a new or novel idea. So you start the journey of entrepreneurship. I remember when at a point I left formal employment. I didn't know what I was earning 1,500 cedis then. I left my employment without any benefit. So you know, it's comfortable waking up and knowing that at the end of the month somebody is going to pay your salary. You can plan your life around that salary. I left, I ventured out, and I said I wanted to be an entrepreneur. God took me a number of processes. Key amongst them was to ask me a number of questions, and the more I answered the questions, the conclusion was, this is who you are, so go ahead. I was very naive. I knew very little about the world. But as I started and I faced one challenge and the other, I became stronger. I understood what I was involved in. So you cannot say that you know what you're about to venture into. You discover yourself as you venture out there. One of the discoveries I had to make was to wake up at the end of every month and realize that I could not look up to anybody paying me salary, but rather people were looking at me to pay them salary. And the journey of knowing where to get the money from to pay off my bills, and also standing firm to say that I'm able to take care of my house, my wife, my children. I began the journey with no kids. Within the first 6 months, I had a son. Within the next 1 year, the second body came within the next 1 year. So my children came in very quick succession. Then you wake up You go to the house, everybody goes to bed, you can't sleep. Half the time you are developing proposals, and then you are learning as you go. And in the journey, you are encountering God. Because if you throw all caution to the air and you are standing alone, God meets you at that spot where he reveals himself to you. So that process of struggling to start the business or the idea that you have, learning in the course of that, dealing with unexpected obstacles. I tell you, 90% of the things you write down that this will happen, will not happen. Business has a way of surprising you. It will shake you, and to all the naughty things, stupid things in you, excuse me to say, will fall out, and you will stand naked before the Lord. So you really don't know yourself until you have no human being able to help you. Or they will say, obey you. Don't worry, keep on keeping on. But it's not keep on keeping on that pays your bills. Pastor Carter, we happen to have met before. Just when I resigned from my business, I joined TBC. So when my joining TBC coincides with the time I resigned from my previous employment and began the journey. But very few people in TBC knew, because I wasn't, and I'm still not the kind that goes to people to sit down and discuss my challenges. You see the person on Sunday smiling and dancing at the back. And then Monday starts. It's between you and God. Those processes put together are what we call entrepreneurship. Then you need to know that every entrepreneur enters the race in a vulnerable state, and their likelihood of survival increases as they recruit others in the pursuit. The process of entrepreneurship, to be successful, cannot be delivered by an individual. So one of the things you learn, hopefully as we begin the engagement, is that entrepreneurship, the whole process teaches you to depend on other people. You will realize that you may think that you have it all, but as you begin the journey, you will realize, actually, I need Kojo, I need Amma. I met a young guy who can design. I learned to design things for myself. And when I'm locked, I call my artist. Charlie, how do you do this one? You learn to realize that, the simple point is, you learn to appreciate the skill set of your network. You realize that you don't know it all. You can learn, but you can only do what one person can do at a given time. And that will not grant you speed. So entrepreneurship as a process, one of the key things you learn is to trust and depend on other people. Now, I'm using trust here very tactfully, not in the sense of trust, because Bible says, the Lord says that trust not in an arm of flesh. So God is the only one we trust. But I wish I could get a better word for that. I hope you understand the sense in which I'm using the word trust. So that's one. So entrepreneurship is a team game. You cannot do it alone. You can't be the visionary. When I set out, I didn't believe in myself. The vision God gave me was for me. But I couldn't believe I could run it. I didn't have the money, and I was scared. So I went into partnership. 6 months after the partnership, the partner decided to leave. So I started my Logos Business School, then Logos Graduate School. I started it without debt. I didn't owe anybody. All my life, I've only taken a bank loan once. And that was before I started out. At the time I set out, I didn't owe anybody. I started business and I went into debt after the first 6 months. And I mean debt running into the tunes of about 500,000. back then. Nobody knew. Yeah, in the New Ghana City. This is, Logos was started in New Ghana City's era. So, but the Lord paid it within a matter of a year and a half. And how it happened, I didn't know. If time permits, I would go into some of that. So, that's one thing. So, entrepreneurship can be understood as a team sport that is more about the journey than the destination. The beauty of entrepreneurship is you can project, as business analysts we would like to do. Everybody that is going into business, you need to have a plan. So I'm not talking about going blindfolded. No. You have a plan. If all things work out for you, your plans will pan out. And because you have planned, you have solutions for all the possible challenges you foresee. But the reality is, if that's how life is, then everybody will be a success. The real sense of life is that you plan all right, but you fall on God for the unexpected. There's no way around it. And that's when you know that your wisdom is very, 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 very minute compared to who you depend on, God. So that's one. Let me quickly do this. Then the next key statement in that definition is opportunity. The definition states the pursuit of opportunity beyond the tangible resources that you currently control. Opportunity. And that is the fuel that ignites the process of entrepreneurship. Without opportunity, you have nothing to stand on. For everyone that is looking at starting a business, no matter how small, no matter how big, the word you want, the evidence you want to say this is the time, is opportunity. So for some of us, the challenge is we miss our opportunities. Sometimes God drops opportunities on your laps. Some of the opportunities don't come by the name I am opportunity. They are friends you will make. Some friends are money walking. They walk into your life and they have access to things you cannot imagine. Some have access to money beyond your wildest imagination. I have a word, I say my net worth is the worth of my network. I tell people, if you have, don't tell me you have many friends. I don't need many friends. I want friends who would be worth my while. One, if I need 5,000, how many friends must I call to get 5,000? If you have to call 3, 4, 5, your network is poor. So don't tell me network, and just be making friends all over the place. Make friends that will be worth calling on. By calling one friend, some friends that come into your life, by just dialing their number, you can have access to 100,000, 1 million, 10 million. So you don't just run into network. Be strategic and be led by the Lord. Some friends, it also becomes critical, even in the spiritual realm. When you are faced with a spiritual challenge, how many friends might you call? Do you have Pastor Carter's number? Do you have a brother in the church, a sister in the church who is a prayer machine? I am blessed with a mother-in-law who is a prayer machine. So when it comes to difficulties, I just say, Mama. And that's my mother-in-law. We talk like nobody's business. I say, Mama, this one is so don't worry. Don't worry. The woman will go, just drop the hint. She will fire prayers for you. By the time you wake up, God is on your side already. So strategic friendships can give access to embed your process of entrepreneurship. Wow. Let's hurry up. It's getting sweeter. The last point on this in this definition is beyond the tangible resources that you currently control. This is the meeting point between vision and faith. What does the Bible say about faith? Bible defines faith in the verse Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1. Say faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. You don't have the money. When I talked about walking into debt, 6 months into my Logos graduate school, I had to move out of where we were. I didn't have what it takes. We were running executive training. We didn't need just about any kind of infrastructure. We needed executive infrastructure. We started at North Legon, a place God himself gave us. Then I gave myself 3 months, put all my money into graphic adverts, didn't have a place. God gave us a place. One day, the first day we were passing the Atraco, behind Atraco, I was looking for a place. Advert had gone out. God gave us a space. And like a joke, before I talked, somebody said, I'll give you that. Somebody, an AC, what do you call them, engineer, for want of a better word, takes me to an importer of ACs. They gave me ACs on high purchase. I didn't put down one peso. About 9 pieces of the brand new air conditions. We've had everything fixed. I walked myself, empty-pocketed, empty-handed, to Kingdom Books, the head office. I selected a particular set of furniture. I want this one. And then I started talking, I'll pay in these tranches. I was making promises as if I was drunk. Then the first program we had to run, when we hit, it was January, when the announcement was made and people came in, it was as though God calculated how much I needed to pay the people I was indebted to. We had 99 participants, and I'm not talking about just anybody. I'm talking about business executives, MDs, heads of department, and their staff walking in on Saturday. When we finished, I counted the biggest amount of money I had ever seen at that stage in my life. I was like, wow. Then I started putting pen to paper of how much money I needed to pay out, because I had made promises. And it was like God had done the calculation. Monday, the way I walked out to these offices, was you to distribute money. I came to the church. I told Pastor Rubin, the Lord has started the new place. I came to sow a seed to appreciate the grace of God. And the journey has been amazing. I cannot say it's been smooth, but God has never disappointed us on that journey. So one of the things as Christians, when you venture into entrepreneurship, is to know that you can't do it on your own. When others are chanting in the night, yours is trusting God and to pray. There have been countless. I talked about North Legon. I was disappointed at one place. I thought the vision had ended because MDPI said they were not going to rent their facility. I was going home with my wife. We got to the entrance of a property I never thought about. Then the voice of God just said, look to your left. I looked. There was an open gate. He said, enter. No negotiation. That was the voice. I just told my wife, give me 1 minute, because there was no reason to stop. I entered. The same day I was disappointed. The same day God gave us a place. And guess what? The gentleman who owned the place and ran the place, I said, how much would you take? The beauty of it all was that he was not going to take a peso. He just said, pay as you use. So we went into a facility that was strategically positioned to advertise logos. Because then the bridge was about to be completed. So all traffic was through the frontal of North Legon Hospital. And you pass in front of ISAD. When we put our banner there, I had people calling me, hey, Charlie, people have money, oh, that big building. I said, you don't know what God is doing. Strategic positioning. That's faith in God. We had a fire situation. 2 strangers came from nowhere on a Saturday, business executive. Those days, when we were there, on Saturdays, there will be traffic because both sides, people's cars, the yard is full, people park. Fire broke out. 2 strangers who were passing by, looking like laborers, came to take over the fight. At the time we were calling Ghana Fire Service. These guys fought the fire as if their life depended on it. When they left, When the fire was brought down, then fire service came. The truck came. We went in, they were doing, I said, where are those guys? The two guys who were in the laborers' clothing, where are they? They were nowhere to be found. We went around, I sent guys to go around the area, whether there is a building site, because they were dressed like they were laborers. Two gentlemen. They looked perfectly like laborers. We combed the entire area. There was no construction work going on. Tell me there is no God. Tell me. Those are just... So the long and short of this part, what I'm saying here is that one of the things you get to appreciate when you venture into entrepreneurship is that you get to meet God as a Christian. Because it brings you to a place where you know that you need God. And as you look to him consistently, he doesn't disappoint. He doesn't disappoint. Okay, quickly. So, who is or what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risks and enjoying most of the rewards. That is the person. So the person who elects to jump into the process of entrepreneurship, so to say, is the entrepreneur. Okay, good. Now, the relevance of entrepreneurship to us, to the individual, if well done, it leads to financial independence. Now, to the nation, entrepreneurship brings about employment. You're able to employ people and give life to families. Now, for each person you employ, you are likely to be taking care of a household of not less than 4 to 5 people. If you employ people, that's the magic wand. And it brings about, if you are taking care of people and creating opportunities, it brings about economic growth, it leads to wealth generation, it causes social change and community development. And for us as Christians, it gives birth to what I call kingdompreneurship. It gives you the ability to invest in the kingdom. If you don't have money, you don't make money, how do you support the church? And the church is a social vehicle. There are so many people that depend on the structure of the church. TBC, our location, if we don't take care of students, we won't have people seated here. That's one of the roles TBC plays here. And there are many people, when they are buffeted out there, their safety place on net is the church. It brings a crop of people together who offer their homes as a haven for counseling, for support. When people suffer bereavement, the church moves as a family. And it doesn't move on an empty fuel. It's not a vehicle, it's like a vehicle without fuel in the vehicle. You can't run, you can't move. So it takes financing to keep the church afloat. We are building a structure, a new structure. One of the headaches some of us have been thinking about it. The new structure will cost us money to operate. Think about the power generation required to maintain that auditorium, to keep ACs on, light on. We haven't begun yet. We need money, or else the church will not survive. So when the church is doing well, it's because its members are doing well. And so our giving to the body of Christ, the church, for the gospel to reach out to people, it will take you and I making sure that we fuel and oil the wheel of the church. If you don't have money, how does that happen? Would God go out and bring non-church people to bring money? Yes, he does it, but you are the one benefiting firsthand. You must fund the church. We must fund the church. Then the mindset is important. This wasn't part, but I introduced it because it's key. The entrepreneurship mindset. A mindset refers to the specific behaviors, attitudes, and thought processes that prompt our decisions. What informs the things we do. Now, an entrepreneur operates with a certain defined mindset. Now, when you have if you have an entrepreneurship mindset, everywhere you go, you see money. Because you are trained to spot problems, spot challenges, and for each of the challenges you spot, you are getting ideas how to resolve them at a fee. You walk into an office. I'm a trainer. That's what I do for a living. And I ventured into this in the year 1999, before I even entered the university. And that's what has kept me and my family afloat. When I meet people, those who know me, when I'm talking to you, before you know, this is how you do this, or this is how you do this. I am wired to talk in that manner. Those who are very close to me, they will tell you. The moment, before I realize this, then I catch myself, this is not your classroom to talk. And I can stand, my sweet spot is when I'm training. And sometimes I can do it where sometimes I have back-to-back sessions, 4 hours, I can talk and train morning to evening before I realize that I'm hungry. It's the joy, the excitement. You can put anything before me, but put me in training. I'll say thank you. You can go to sleep and come. I'll be there. That's what I'm wired to do. And I got to know very early by the special grace of God. So the entrepreneurship mindset is a set of skills that relies very heavily on positive and resilient thinking. People with this mind frame see new opportunities where others only view risks. They are constantly generating ideas to solve everyday problems and are unafraid of advocating for their views or pursuing their ideas on their own. That's the person ready to take the bull by the horn. So if you are here, you are looking at starting something, start pursuing ideas. They don't have the Midas touch mentality. They have the Midas eye. Everything they see money. When they see this person, they say, can I get him a dress that will make him look good and sell that dress to him? The shoe he's wearing. These people, let me give them shoes. The story is told of a man who worked for a business, a company, sent him to a place. He came back telling the owners that, Charlie, we can't make business there. The people, they don't wear shoes. How can we go and sell shoes there? Another person is sent there, comes back and says, sir, that is a gold mine. All the people there, they don't wear shoes. So it means that if there are 100,000 people, the moment we land, we can sell the first sale, 100,000 people. All we need to do is to define how to go about selling. Same place, two different mindsets. So some of us walk through life and all we see are problems. We don't ask ourselves, what can I do about it? Until you train yourself to start asking, what can be done? By the grace of God, one of the graces I enjoy is when I sit with people and they start talking about their challenges. Sometimes it shocks me. Then ideas, you can go about it like this, or what about this? And I can sit there and just be talking. I say, God, why? All of this, I'm just dishing it out for free like that. The person should pay some money. But especially when it's a brother or sister in the Lord, you want to just give it and trust God that they'll be able to see that in their corner are solutions. I want to finish in the next 5 minutes. Now, does the Bible encourage entrepreneurship? It's very key, because the question we want to have answer is, does God support entrepreneurship? I'm going to walk us through the Bible, just mention a few biblical individuals who, by default, were brought into the world to set the pace in entrepreneurship. The first in this is Abraham. Abraham was a wealthy business owner in the Bible. Genesis 13, verse 1 to 3, Bible talks about how wealthy in animals, different types of animals. Then Abraham went up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, to the south. Abraham was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. It means this guy was trading in livestock, silver and in gold. He was not just rearing the animals. People in the land where he settled, when they needed animals, they bought from him. Bible talks about him having slaves and having an army in his home. You think it just happened because he had animals? Gold. What will he use gold for if it's not for trading? So people would travel far and near to come and buy. Abraham classic entrepreneur. We talk about Isaac, the son. Bible says he was an outstanding farmer that grew mightier than the whole nation. You find this in Genesis 26:12-16. The guy farmed and became so great. The Bible says that where he planted, his return was, is it 60% or 100? He reaped 100-fold. Now, you think if it's for his household, does it need that much? The guy was trading in product of his farm. This is a Christian, a believer in the Lord you and I believe in. Then we look at Boaz. Amazing personality. In Ruth 2:8, but Boaz ran his business as an extension of his faith. He proved work should not be separated from faith, but that rather they are two and the same. This is the gentleman who instructed his farm hands. When you harvest, leave some, deliberately make sure that they are dropping so that the needy would find food. That was a statement of faith. He had more than he needed, so he could afford to instruct that. Make sure that, and the scriptures then instructed the wealthy to do that. So he obeyed scripture. He wasn't just doing it on volition. He was obeying scripture. Then we talk about Job. He was also an industrious farmer. In Job 1:2-3, it says, he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He also had many servants. He was, in fact, the richest person in that entire area. That was a businessman. In fact, go forward later, after the disaster that struck him, he came back stronger. He came back stronger as a businessman. We talk about Lydia of Thyatira. Lydia built a successful business selling purple cloth. That cloth, that color was synonymous with royalty. And in those times, the purple-colored fabric was associated with affluence. So her clients were the rich people in town. And this lady hosted the apostles. She gave them food in her house. She said, come to my house and come and dine with me. If you don't have money, how do you take care of the church and eat people? That's one. You and I, we need money. I know a family, they have a big house. For the story building in front, the older boys' quarters converted to their own apartment. The story building always has rooms for strange Christians. If you're a Christian minister, you move to their on the Spinters Road. When they hear you need help, come and sleep. In that house, every blessed day, they feed not less than 20 people. Every time you go there, they're crowd. People are moving and coming and going. The man tells me, the wife doesn't work, but she's his prayer machine. He said, when I'm going out to town, if my wife doesn't bless me, I don't go. I will kneel. She will place the hand. When you are standing with her, the wife is praying, you will just be quiet. You think the guy, he understands certain principles. And in their home, as Christians, they feed multitudes on a daily. It says a bag of rice sometimes runs out, not the small one, the big one, in a day. Because all the time, there's something on fire, because people are coming and going. If you don't have the grace, how do you handle that? Quickly, Peter the apostle was a fishing businessman, entrepreneur. So when push came to shove, the guy went back to business. But he was known to be a very good one. Then we talk about Paul of Tarsus. He was a tent maker, and he made tents for a living. So he didn't depend on the arms of people. And one of the things as Christians we must learn we need to get to a place where we don't have to put ourselves on the church. Yeah. We need to make sure that we have what it takes. So when you come in at a stage and you are in need, you'll be supported, but you must be quick to gain independence. And it means you must invest in yourself. make up your mind to be gainful in terms of trading in something. Then we talk about Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Jesus was the epitome of biblical entrepreneurship as the savior of humanity. Jesus the Christ. We see him in Acts 10 verse 38, and you know that God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power. Then Jesus went around doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil. For God, Jesus operated the biggest humanitarian entity the world has ever known. Bible talks about him moving in a sitting. It talks about men. It doesn't even mention the way. You know, when human beings gather, women are always more than the men. So the gatherings we hear, feeding 5,000, feeding so and so, it doesn't give us a true picture of the crowd. It's not today that NGOs started. Jesus operated the biggest that the world has ever seen and still does. You see. So we must see Jesus critically as an entrepreneur. Then the last parable of the talent. Permit me to dwell a little here. The parable of the talent is in Matthew 25 and verse 14 to 30. So we will read it in your own spare time. I'm sure the story we are familiar. Now the parable of the talent, as with all the biblical parables, has many layers of meaning. Its essence relates to how we are to use God's gift of grace. So there are so many things we can glean from this parable. When you take a closer look at the parable, the word talent in this parable has two meanings. The first is that it is a monetary unit. So we know that it was the largest denomination of the time. In biblical times, according to Bible scholars, a single talent was equivalent to the wage of an ordinary worker for 15 years. 1 talent. And the parable talks about a master giving talent to his servants. To one he gave 1, to 2. Some he gave 2. In that order till I think 5. And then the story tells us how they each utilize the talent. Now the second meaning we glean from the term, the word talent, it also refers to all the gifts God has given us for our use. That's where we become implicated. That the God who has put us here will one day come seeking account, just like that master did. So some of us, my sister here has a gift of singing. I cannot sing. I can sing small when I'm not being observed. The moment people start looking, oh, my voice will vanish. But she has the grace. The husband too, Minister Albert. It's a gift. Some of us say, I know how to talk. But the reality is, I don't know, I know how to talk. So every time I'm coming here, I'm a very shy person. But when I'm coming, I'm praying hard, God, talk. I don't want to be the one talking. But I have mates who have made monetary value out of their public speaking. Some of the best events hosts in town were my mates in the university. I haven't decided to take it to that point. But there is another grace I enjoy, which I'm using. But each one of us, none of us can confidently open his mouth and say that, as for me, I can't do anything. There's a grace for every one of us. And God will ask for account. So the definition embraces all gifts, natural, spiritual. Some of us can pray, some of us see things, some of us discern. Now you can imagine if you work for a company and you make available your gift of discernment, you are saving the company money. But most of us, we don't see the value of our spiritual gifts to our companies. When you work with a company that respects spirituality, it gives you room to blossom. And when you talk, they will listen. And some investment strategies or steps, at just one word of discernment, you can save the company millions. And I know bosses, they don't joke with some of their staff. Let everybody say they are going, they won't bother. If you say you are going, they'll put their hands on their head. We need to bring value to wherever you are. So all of that is there. Then The parables also contain a critical lesson about how we are to use our God-given capabilities and resources. The long and short is that God commands us to use our talents towards productive ends. God didn't give you the gift He gave you so that you waste it. He won't do that. So, the greatest in biblical terms of entrepreneurs is the person of God. In John 15 and the verse 1 to 2, it says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away. And every branch that continues to bear fruit, He repeatedly prunes so that it will bear more fruit, even richer and finer fruit. So that's where we begin to get concerned. There's a day that will come. Some of us, if we are not bearing fruit, God will have a decision to make. He didn't put us here to occupy space. He put us here for a purpose. A soul depends on you. The salvation of a soul is dependent on your ability to blossom. For some, it is your lifestyle that somebody will watch and become a Christian. For some, just by allowing God to have His way, you become a major signboard. You think God created us and put us here with all the details with which He created us for creation's sake? No. That guy is an investor, and he will come. Our Father is an investor. So, by way of conclusion, you get to know God more as you venture into the journey of the unknown, because you don't know what is ahead of you. The moment you know tomorrow, you don't need to strategize. You will be more than a man. And none of us is more than men. And that's why we depend on God. If you have the heart to venture into the unknown, there's a man who knows the unknown. He becomes your friend. And he will make your way straight for you. Thank you. At this point, I would like to invite Brother Ken and Sister Claudia. We have question time. I don't know whether I have done justice to the topic. Pastor Kata. So please join me. I understand we have some time for questions. The topic did not say we should delve into what to do if I want to start a business. So the question time is the opportunity to ask those questions. And depending on my brethren here, we are trusting that we'll be able to respond appropriately. So if you have a question, ask Brother... Oh, okay. I think you will handle the mic for me. We want to take as many questions as possible. Question time. We are here. Any question?
Elder Eli, if I have questions, can I ask you, or I'm forbidden?
You can ask.
So you spoke about your experience with partnership, and I have a mentor who has seriously advised me against going to partnership with Africans. So I want to understand that, is it the people involved, or just the concept of partnership, or it is just your experience that you don't want to impose on other people?
It's my experience. It doesn't mean that there are no Africans that are quality partners. There are equally very good. You see, The same way we talk about very good Europeans and Westerners, they also have very, very bad people. And there are stories of people who have been duped more than a countless number of times by Europeans. So what about that? It's about selling, putting your best foot forward. They would put their best foot forward and say we are good. And a few people who deal with some have a good experience. It doesn't mean there are no bad ones. In the same sense, in our case, there are equally very good individuals. And I dare say, in my case, I stated that my partnership at that stage was informed by fear. I didn't have enough faith. I would confidently say that today, because I understand better. I didn't have enough confidence in God that I could brave the odds all by myself. So I thought, let's share the burden. And then I realized it wasn't burden sharing as you would want to put it. And the person opted out. We are still friends. But it teaches you, that's one of the lessons you learn. Anytime you fall, you rise. You don't say, I won't walk again. So you've gone into a partnership, it didn't work. Doesn't mean that given the opportunity, you won't do one. I've had other partnerships since then. Just that because of the experience, I measure the risk before going in. It's a learning curve. So the attitude I have had is, I've seen it as a learning curve, and I know the challenges it brought. So going into the next, one of the problems we have had as Africans is we don't do paperwork very detailed. You know what I mean? Paperwork when we are venturing into partnership. Oh, Madame Fopa, this guy was my mate in the university. Madame Fopa, when we were struggling in the university, we used to talk about running business together. So when the time came, Charlie, that thing we used to talk about, make we do up. And then we do. Then there was very little in terms of paperwork, apart from agreeing that 50%, Asa. We didn't go into the nitty-gritties. And that's where most of us are beaten. So I would not say there are no good partners in Ghana. I would say be led by the Lord, one. It is critical because you are dealing with human beings. Do paperwork. Again, as I said earlier on, you cannot trust man. Even your spouse. The Bible does not advise you to trust. So that's what for another day of engagement. So trust is not the issue. So because you cannot trust man, details, say the devil is in the details. Always iron out the details, including if we have to separate, what form should it take? Discuss all of those so you are not moving, and then define the responsibilities very well. Who is responsible for what? Who brings what? Who does what? All those details, no matter how young you are, don't say, oh, we are just young, let's try it and see. You'll be beaten. I know a few young people who are very well, doing extremely well. They are not saying we are young, but they are crossing the T's, dotting the I's, so that peradventure, when the unexpected happens in the journey, you don't get shocked. You know what you're getting into. So partnerships work. And fact of the matter is, there are different forms of partnerships. It's about learning what it is you are getting into. Some expose you heavily. Some limit your exposure. So you just have to know exactly what kind of. I've done a number of project-based partnerships. So it is not a long-term partnership. We partner, we deliver on the project, we issue report, we are done, we share the booty, everybody goes his way, praise the Lord. The next time you get opportunity, bring them. And the person knows you are a good to go to person. You know he or she is a good to go to person. So you need to just know the model and ultimately let the Lord lead you. There are sometimes God is so loud. It's just that we refuse to listen. A lot of times when you are going into look, this partner I'm talking about, the first time my wife met him, she made a comment. And that comment came back to bite me hard. Said, this is your friend. He came on a motorbike, and my wife has an aversion towards motorbike riders. The first time I said, is this your friend? Are you sure? Do you know him? I don't feel comfortable about him. I said, oh, he's been my mate. So I brushed it aside. I didn't listen to the voice of my wife at the time. And he came back to haunt us. I paid through my teeth for almost 4 years to pay back that. So partnerships work. And to a great extent, the greatest things in the world are forged on the back of partnerships. You cannot do it alone. You cannot. It gets to a point, even to pool resources, you need to open up. The problem with us as blacks, that kind of mentality is what has limited the speed of growth of our continent. Because we are averse to partnerships. And yet there's so little you can do alone. When there are some investment, you need a lot of money, you need to pool resources. You need to be ready to give up some. And I'll end the statement. I met somebody at a point, I registered a university under the brand. Then I was looking for funding. Then I met a gentleman, somebody introduced me to. He said, no, Ray, why do you want to do this all by yourself, 100%? What is the value in 100% if it doesn't put food on your table? That statement hit me. So yeah, you can own 0.5%, but that 0.5% of the business can take care of you, your children's children, and their children, and their children. So what is the push in saying I own it 100%? It changed my worldview. And that's about partnerships. Bringing in resources, and some of the resources are not monetary. Some it's human resource, skills, and abilities. And you need to think in those directions. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give a clap of friend too. Indeed, partnerships are really helpful. We have to just rewire our mindsets in our sub-Saharan Africa and embrace partnerships. So, is there any other question we have from the congregation? Any question? Okay. You can mention your first name briefly and then your question.
All right. So, good evening once again. My name is Benjamin, and my question is, I came across a video where it makes us understand that in order for you to set up a business, you must first find the problems and then get solutions to those problems, and then you implement it. So please, I wanted to ask, in cases where you have no capital, and let's say you are an introvert, whereby you don't really talk to people in order to partnership with anyone to pull out the solution to the problem. What is the way to go about such an incident, especially when you don't have a capital to start? Thank you.
Okay, all right. So first of all, you mentioned capital, and you also mentioned introverts. So there are various social styles. In the past, we used to call it temperament: phlegmatic, choleric, melancholic, and I think forgotten the last, sanguine. But in the social styles, there's amiable, there's a driver, there's expressive, and there's analytical. So on the backdrop of what Elder Ellie said, you still need that partnership. And I'll give you a practical example to leverage on you being an introvert. So I, together with a friend, we bought a piece of plot some years ago, and there was an argument with the real estate company, and we had to get our plots back. I'm the introvert, like you. My friend is assertive. I told him that we will pray. I said I'll rest them in the spirit realm. We'll bring back Allah. I said, Kenda, I said, no more court. So no, you won't go to call me. I can pray. I said, nah, you are joking. So he complimented me with his social style as being assertive, as being aggressive, and he drove me in the process. See the lawyers, write it, do this. He did nothing. but he was driving me with the technical competence. At the end of the day, we went to court, we got our capital, we got capital, interest, damage, cost, plenty things. But he was the one who was assertive, he was the driver. I was the amiable type. I built relationship. And yes, she won't call, let's wait on God. He touched the heart of the real estate guy to bring our land back. He says no. So the partnership aspect is very, very important. The capital, right? I'm realizing that there are innovative ways of even beginning business. A friend of mine shared with me a story where he began business not with physical capital, but with social capital. He went in the name of his uncle who has reputation. So he went to this laptop company. Then it was 600 Ghana cedis. He told them that, let me take it, I'll pay you in 6 months installments. With the name of his uncle, never left any capital. Went to a school and told them that I'm going to give it to you at 100 cedis a month for 12 months. For the students. In 6 months, he has paid off the laptop company. The other 6 months was his profit. No capital down. So there are innovative ways that are coming up in raising capital through wisdom, but definitely if you have something zero, you need somebody to support. You need an angel investor, you need somebody who would invest in your business. And even these days, banks don't expect collateral anymore. Your idea should be so good that it can release the capital to you. So once you can demonstrate your idea in a proposal and it's well written, somebody can read and decide that I'll support you. A good example, a cousin of mine found TVs in Dubai, 65-inch screen TV. That costs 5,000 cedis in Dubai, but in Ghana it's 16,000. If you have this business proposal, well detailed, with evidence, with all the prices, the website, and you deliver it to an angel investor with the proper marketing scheme, with your clients, your customers already, any reasonable person is likely to buy into the idea and support you. So it's how you go about generating the capital.
In addition to that, straight away, for the many of us, we always are looking at how to start, boom. And that is where the weight of life. Somebody told me, in fact, one of our brothers in this church, he once told me, Raymond, grow organically. At a stage in Lagos, I was like, I wanted to just open up into a university. And I started talking, Charlie, I need money. And Lagos were doing well. On week basis, we were making numbers, which were translated into figures. Then a gentleman, now Dr. Our former men's president, said, Raymond, why? Grow organically. Grow so that as you are growing, your strength and your capacity is growing along with the business. I didn't understand him then. I looked at him quietly. You know. But later I found value in that statement. So here is my catch. One, every dream you have, every idea you generate will place a demand on you. There are things you must learn. You need to break out of your comfort zone. If your dream is big enough, you can't continue to be the way you are to realize it. So I used not to do public speaking. Somebody pushed me to do my former church as a young man, go and do MC, coordinate service. I said, So I used to make a lot of noise. By the time people settle down, I'm gone. So you will never see, because when I heard those days, I heard the mic, you will see the mic shaking. It's not like today, by the special grace of God, I'll hold it. So the person kept pushing me. So one, you would need to have an idea that is convincing to get a sponsor, for somebody to believe. And a sponsor here, I'm not talking about somebody to finance it necessarily, somebody to even just be motivating you. You can do it. Somebody to see beyond your present reality. It could be your friends, it could be somebody you respect. Secondly, you say you are an introvert. It doesn't mean you are born into the cell of introversion. You have to break free. You have to learn to be able to communicate what is in your head and in your heart. So it's a learnable skill. Once you can identify that this is my challenge, it means you have a direction to the solution. So that in itself is a key. So the moment you have an idea, you must begin to put together the set of skills required to achieve them. Those that you have the capacity to acquire, invest in acquiring them. And sometimes the investment really is not about going to school, it's about making certain friends. Network. There are friends who have that thing in abundance. They don't even know what to do with that skill. So let them rub off you small. Keep their company small and be looking at their lips as they talk. And ask them pointed questions. It's not just to go and watch football and eat. That's not friendship. Friendship is about making each other valuable. Investing in each other. So your talking should be purposeful. Your meeting and engagement, I tell people, I can't go and sit with you. I don't go out by heart. If I move my car and I visit you, then I'm visiting you. And people who are close to me, they know, Raymond there, or they say, I need something from you. And if you need me, that's how you also find me. When you need me, I will respond with speed. Because the same way when I need you, you don't waste time. Pastor Kata knows, if I need something, I will pressurize you. I'm a pressure machine. And everybody around me knows that. They know that if Raymond is on your case, God help you. I'm a military man's son. Growing up in the barracks has an effect on you. So that is about learning. So the vision you have, God asked me a number of questions. If I send you to a carpenter shop, what do you become? I say you become a carpenter. That was before Logos started. If I send you to work with a plumber, what do you become after years? A plumber. What have you been doing over this number of years? So you've been training. Yeah, that's what we have been doing. So then the question, so what have you become? And I knew where the answer was going. So I kept quiet. I said, what have you become? Then reluctantly I said, a trainer. So the instruction was, write down what you can do as a trainer. That was what birthed Logos. I had a very small laptop then. It was an engagement with God that birthed Logos. And when it happened, it had taken almost 10 years of maturing. Because I have met people who sat under people who have been mega trainers. And I engaged them, I talked with them. And when the time came to birth Logos, people were ready. And that's also one of the things. If your dream is of God, He brings people. You don't have to struggle too far. One of the things God has taught me personally is, if I want to do anything and I'm struggling, it's not time. 90%, 99.9% of the things, the moment I sense the release and I move, and it is God informed, by the time I realize somebody is standing here, somebody is standing here, somebody is standing here, and it moves. So learn. Move out of your place. If it's marketing skills, learn. And the skill set that you know your dream requires that you don't have. If it requires at a point going back to school, have a plan. If it requires employing somebody and paying the person to do it, employ. I started by making friends. My work, we used to put advert out like every blessed week. So I had graphic designers who were my friends. And when it became necessary, Charlie, install the software for me. So when you want to move this one, how does it happen? They didn't know they were training me. And I tell people, if I sit by you for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, no matter how technical your job is, I would learn the basics. That's one of the graces and that's a grace you walk into when you are in entrepreneurship. Your eyes pick things fast. So my brother, when it comes to the money, you are looking at how big is this dream? How small can I start? Answer that question. And sometimes it's just your pocket money that you will need to take off. Because for many investors, they are looking for your own exposure. Everywhere you go, they are going to ask you a question. You are looking for 20,000. How much of yourself has gone into this? If you are not able to invest in yourself, nobody would risk unnecessarily in you. So start small and grow. And then when people see that you are passionate enough about what you're doing, they will bend themselves for you.
All right, thank you very much. Start small and grow. I have a question here. Usually when we're talking about entrepreneurship, we look at the broader picture of the successful business, and people aspire to also get there. So I'd want to know, what are some of the risks involved in being an entrepreneur? I think I would direct it to Madam Claudia. What are some of the risks of being an entrepreneur?
There are a lot of risks involved in entrepreneurship, especially in our part of the world, where most of the times the economic is not stable. You'll be running business and it will get to a point, you get to the booming stage, you get to the peak stage, and then again it will come to the recession. So it's risky running business and being an entrepreneur. So it all boils down to the mindset, the urge, what you really want, the set goals, the objectives you want to achieve. Those are the things that keeps you going. There are so many risks, financial challenges, employment, even with your employees, you can get so much challenges with them. Even sometimes the government works against you. We have stakeholders. Every business have its own stakeholders. I run delivery business, and I'm under Postal Courier Regulatory Commission. And you know that you register at the end of the month or at the end of the year, you are going to pay huge sums of money. But at the end of the day, you see the market is saturated. You could see that everybody is doing the business, but it's not well regulated. You open the business, do everything you have to do, put things in place, employ people, you are going to be paying tax, you are going to be paying SNET for your workers, you have workers that you have to pay at the end of the month. Somebody will get his bike or her bikes in the house and start running delivery business without being registered under Postal Courier Regulatory. I quite remember during the lockdown, I started Courier 2018, around September. Less than 3 months lockdown. That was when I had money. Do you know why? Most of the Okada guys were not able to operate. Most of these delivery business who are not registered were not able to operate, because we have given all of us certificates and all our riders were having their tax. So I should tell you, we were making a lot of money. I was making close to 15,000 a day. But immediately lockdown was over and the Okada guys and everybody came in, everything started coming down again. So there are a lot of challenges. It depends on the area or the sector of business you are running. But you have to be ready about all these challenges and take them one after the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A clap of friend. I think Minister Ken wants to add something.
So I would answer from a point of a consultant, having to consult a lot of businesses in this regard, and that's one question we ask them a lot when we go for business development. So one of the major things currently is the exchange fluctuation. You purchase some items from outside, you want to sell, and by the time you get your profits, you want to go and buy or restock, you realize that the exchange rates would have eroded all your profits. So it's one thing that lots of multinational companies or businesses who deal with imports and exports face a lot. Another one that Claudia referred to is employee retention or employee turnover. When some of your best staff leave you at a point in time where you needed them the most, or when you're unable to get a right skill to meet a particular demand. I've had colleagues call me to tell me that if my team member applies to your firm, please let me know and don't employ them, because they feel that they have invested in them so much that they can't let them go. At the end of the day, the employee is thinking about his self-interest, his goals as well. Can I get an increment in salary elsewhere? So you're really going to face the challenge of employee retention. How do you maintain them? Do you increase their salary? Do you give them good bonuses? And yet still they leave. And I've seen a lot of employers get bitter with their employees when they have resigned because they felt that they owe them much loyalty. Claudia talked about the dry seasons. You see a lot of businesses have a vacillating pattern. Times is doing so well, point in time it just drops. For the next 3 months it's dry, another time. So how to maintain that steady flow of income? And there's a cure. That's having a consistent business development strategy, knowing your weaknesses. Those who are in seamstress, tailors, masons, how do you maintain that consistency of job? Because you can get one job, someone is building a house in the next 2 or 3 months. Are you going to stay in their house? What do you do in between that period? So you are going to face these challenges. You have 2 or 3 clients and you lose 2 of them. You have planned with the 3 clients. Now you have 1. How do you readjust your income? You still have to pay employees the same salary. They have to deal with overdrafts. When you do it, overdrafts. So the whole entrepreneurship is a very complicated arena. It's not as simple and as free as everybody wants to wake up, wants to be an entrepreneur. People resign and tell you that it's very hard, especially those who are married. My bosses who have resigned tell me that, Ken, if you are married with kids, it's a different game. Because you wake up and your wife doesn't look at you the same. They start encouraging you. But at a point in time, the ball game changes. So I'm happy about this conversation. We may not finish today. It's a whole lot. I'll give a practical example about a seamstress. A seamstress begins a business. It's going so well. But your social skills, these are some of the things that will come.
Thank you. So in addition, there's no free